Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 9 Part 16 based on novel. So let's start. The scorching sun was suspended high in the sky. Sunlight illuminated the entire Martial Gathering Island, causing the already exceptionally lively and noisy island to become even more warm and feverish. A black mass of people gathered in the surroundings of the plaza at the mountain top. Waves of sound rang out one after another, causing even the clouds in the sky to be scattered. Following the easy 3-0 victory by the Wei clan over the Song clan, the next round of the Martial Gathering was now decided. Next up would be the battle between the Wei clan and the Gu clan. Only the winner of this battle would have the qualifications to challenge the defending champion, the Shinto clan. Countless gazes swept across the Gu clan and Wei clan seats as whispers broke out. Evidently, they were gauging the combat capabilities of both sides. Within the Wei clan, Wei Zhen and that Chen Luo both have the qualifications of breaking through to the advanced profound life stage. Even the weakest Wei Li had reached the peak of the initial profound life stage. Ji Mengqi gently bit her lip and softly sighed as she looked towards the direction of the Wei clan. This time, the situation is not too encouraging for us. The only chance of victory will be if elder sister Mengqi manages to match with the weakest Wei Li and defeat him, coupled with Lin Dong winning his match. That's the only what we can achieve, a 2-1 victory over the Wei clan. Ji Yu Yang said in a somewhat helpless manner. Lin Dong wrinkled his brows. He did not like the feeling on placing his hopes on that improbable ballot. The elder generation of the Gu clan obviously knew about the importance of this battle. However, after a round of discussions, they discovered that the situation still did not bode well for them. Thus, they could only frown and shake their heads. After which, Gu Shou walked over and looked at Lin Dong and the other two, as he helplessly said, "Mengqi, draw the ballots first and see how it turns out." Gu Mengqi faintly nodded her head. With a shake of her jade-like hand, the light tag within split into 3. Under the supervision of the Shinto clan referee nearby, she offered them to Lin Dong and Ji Yu Yang. Ji Yu Yang was the first to extend her hand and take a tag. After a single look, she said with a bitter smile, "My opponent is Chen Luo." Given her strength, an encounter with Wei Zhen would definitely end in defeat. Lin Dong reached out and looked at the result. Instantly, his expression turned slightly odd, as he said, "Looks like you don't have any hope left. Wei Li has been picked by me." When he said these words, Lin Dong also felt somewhat helpless. Never would he had imagined that the weakest among the 3 participants from the Wei clan would actually be picked by him. "Then, my opponent should be Wei Zhen," Ji Mengqi said while biting her lip. She looked at the remaining light tag, softly sighed before saying, "Looks like the most important match of this round has been left to me." From the current situation, Ji Yu Yang would obviously lose to Chen Luo. As for Lin Dong, since he was paired against the weakest Wei Li, he would obviously win. This way, the most important fight had changed to the one between Ji Mengqi and Wei Zhen. Their positions changed completely from the previous round. When he saw this, Ji Shou's forehead scrunched up tightly. However, the results were already out and he could do nothing about it, except say, "Mengqi, you go first. If the result isn't good, we don't need to continue the rest of the fights." From this arrangement, the most important was the result of Ji Mengqi's battle. If she loses, the points would stop at 2-0. At that time, even if Lin Dong was powerful, he would still be unable to change the result. Upon hearing this, Ji Mengqi faintly nodded her head. Gently biting her lips, she replied, "I'll try my best." As her voice faded, she did not hesitate any longer. Her beautiful figure moved, as she shot towards the square. As he watched the beautiful figure that had shot out, Ji Shou sighed, before looking at Lin Dong. With a bitter smile, he said, "It's not your fault if we lose. It can only be said that our Gu clan is weaker than them." Lin Dong felt helpless. Soon after, he turned his head around and looked towards the direction of the Wei clan. At this moment, Wei Zhen had also looked over, revealing a smile that showed his joy at Lin Dong's misfortune. With a shift of his body, Wei Yishan shot straight towards the square that Ji Mengqi had descended on. Ha ha. Miss Mengqi, looks like the external helper of your Ji clan cannot save you from this crisis. When Wei Yishan landed, he revealed a smile towards her and remarked, Wei Yishan, don't celebrate too early. Anger had erupted on Ji Mengqi's gentle face due to Wei Yishan's callous taunting, causing her gentle voice to turn cold. This is a foregone conclusion. Unless you believe that you're able to defeat me. Wei Yishan teased. We'll know once we fight. Ji Mengqi coldly said. With a clench of her jade-like hand, an azure crescent moon-shaped longsword appeared in a flash. Cold light flowed on the surface of the sword. It was clearly a rather powerful spirit treasure. Upon seeing this, Wei Yishan faintly smiled, as his head slowly drew the giant blade on his back. With a whirl of his palm, the giant blade flew out, before heavily stabbing into the ground in front of him. Bam! As the giant blade was inserted into the ground, even the earth trembled. Meanwhile, a swift and fierce blade glint, that caused people's expressions to change, gradually radiated out from within Wei Yishan's body. You'll know the result in 10 rounds. Wei Yishan grabbed the blade handle. Raising his head, he grinned at Ji Mengqi. At this moment, his gaze instantly turned sharp and fierce like a blade. With a shift of his body, he shot out explosively like thunder. Bang bang! As Wei Yishan shot forward, an extremely astonishingly swift and fierce blade glow soared into the clouds. As the blade glint passed through the hard ground of the square, it sliced it up like tofu. Rocks and stone flew in all directions, causing the expressions of several people to change. Outside of the square, Lin Dong looked at the blade glint that pervaded the entire square, and faintly pursed his lips. Beside him, the faces of Ji Yang and the rest became somewhat ugly. The situation in the square was practically completely under Wei Yishan's control. The swift, fierce, and overbearing blade qi enveloped every corner of the square. As for Ji Mengqi, in response to attacks of such level, she could only retreat little by little. From the looks of this, everyone knew that Ji Mengqi's chances of victory against Wei Yishan was practically zero. Before 10 rounds, she will lose. Lin Dong stared at the square, before saying in a soft voice. After hearing this, the eyes of Ji Yang and the rest dimmed, while Ji Shou also helplessly sighed. There was already no way to change this outcome. The atmosphere at the Ji clan seats had become heavy and pressurizing. All of the Ji clan disciples clenched their hands tightly. Would their Ji clan be stopped at this place? Kai Kai? Overbearing blade qi shot out explosively. Wei Yishan's attacks were akin to lightning, and the beautiful figure within was akin to a small boat in the middle of a storm, teetering on the brink of capsizing. She has lost. Lin Dong's eyes suddenly focused as he muttered. Heh. Just as Lin Dong's words rang out, a smile appeared on the Wei Yishan's face. In the next instant, his eyes instantly turned ice cold, as he grasped his blade with both hands, and furiously slashed down. Mountain Render. Berserk blade qi howled out, as countless blade glints transform into a gigantic mountain peak in the air, before descending onto Ji Mengqi. Swish swish swish! Ji Mengqi looked at the blade mountain that suddenly descending towards her, as her eyes turned extremely grim. Practically all of the Yuan power within her body surged out, and a 1,000-feet-long sword rainbow shot out explosively, violently slashing at the blade mountain. Bang! At the instant of impact, an earth-shattering noise resounded. In the next instant, berserk blade qi and sword glint swept out in a crazy manner, and viciously smashed into Ji Mengqi's body. Ugh! A mouthful of blood was spurted out from Ji Mengqi's mouth, as her beautiful body flew backwards. After miserably landing outside the square, her aura instantly dropped. Evidently, she had suffered rather serious injuries. I've said before. You will lose in 10 rounds. Wei Yishan stood in the air, as he kept his blade. An exceedingly insolent smile appeared from the corners of his mouth. The Wei clan wins the first match. Upon seeing this, the Shantu clan referee immediately announced the results of the fight. As his voice rang out, cheers instantly rang out from the direction of the Wei clan, as pleased gazes looked towards the direction of the Ji clan. This made the faces of quite a few GU clan disciples turn somewhat ugly. GU Minch's faces was rather pale as she returned to the GU clan seats. Looking at Lin Dong and the rest, she said with a bitter smile, "Sorry." Lin Dong softly sighed in his heart, before tilting his head only to see Wei Zhen, who was standing in the air above the square looking at him. When Wei Zhen saw Lin Dong look over, a domineering look flashed past his face. "Lin Dong, looks like you still don't have the qualifications to save them from this desperate situation." Wei Zhen stood in the air, as looked at Lin Dong and smiled. "Don't you feel sullen for this kind of competition, where you don't even need to take action?" Lin Dong faintly wrinkled his brow, as he looked at Wei Zhen, who had slightly lost control due to joy. However, Lin Dong remained quiet. Forget about it." Jiu Shou patted Lin Dong's shoulder, and sighed, "As for the quota, I'm afraid our GU clan is unable to give it to you. If you have any other rewards that you need, feel free to tell us." Lin Dong kneaded his temples as he replied, "Didn't I say long ago that I'm only interested in the quota for the Chaotic Tower? However, our GU clan has already lost," Jiu Shou replied helplessly. "Lost? That may not be." Upon hearing this, Lin Dong merely chuckled. Tilting his head, he stared at Jiu Shou and the rest, as he spoke in a soft voice, "Isn't there an Azura method?" "Azura method?" Upon hearing his words, Jiu Mingqi and the rest instantly raised their heads, and looked at Lin Dong with somewhat dazed eyes. Even Jiu Shou and his old face was faintly becoming a little emotional. "Azura method?" The GU clan seat seemed to have become much more silent due to the sudden appearance of these two words. Astonished gazes looked towards the youth, who had muttered this phrase with a slight smile on his face. You want to challenge using the Azura method?" GU Shou was after all a seasoned veteran, hence, he was the first to recover. However, his old face still appeared somewhat surprised. It was clear that Lin Dong's words had affected him greatly. Lin Dong slowly nodded his head. Before the start of the martial gathering, he had heard about the rules of the martial gathering from Jiu Mingqi. Generally speaking, the winner was determined by a best of 3. However, besides this form of normal competition, there was a standalone ruling. This ruling is termed the Azura method. Its name sounds rather terrifying, however, it is not difficult to understand. Simply speaking, it refers to sending one competitor to challenge all 3 opponents at once. If the individual wins, it would reverse the originally disadvantageous situation. Although the ruling was simple, it would be exceedingly difficult to carry out this method to fruition. Practically everyone who had the qualifications to participate in the 5 great clans' martial gathering were top figures within the younger generation of the Heaven Wind Sea region. Although there might be some disparity between them, they would be rather minor. Therefore, it would be an uphill task to triumph over 3 opponents. If Lin Dong wanted to initiate the Azura method, he would have to fight Wei Zhen, Chen Luo, and Wei Li, all by himself. Of the 3, Wei Zhen and Chen Luo possessed the strength to break through to advance profound life stage. As for the weakest Wei Li, he was after all at the peak of the initial profound life stage. If the 3 of them were to join hands, they would be comparable to an advanced profound life stage expert. Even within the younger generation of the Heaven Wind Sea region, there were perhaps less than 5 people who possessed such strength. It was due to this fact that Jiu Shou and the rest were so shocked when they heard that Lin Dong wanted to challenge the Azura method. In the numerous martial gatherings, there had been people who challenged the Azura method, however, those who had actually succeeded were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. The most recent one was Shintu Ju of the Shintu clan. It was through this event that he earned the title of Iron Azura. Who was Shintu Ju? He was the most outstanding genius that had emerged from the Shintu clan in 100 years. His talent was comparable to the top 2 in the younger generation within the Heaven Wind Sea region. In recent years, his name had become a heavy stone that weighed down on the hearts of all of the geniuses from the other 4 great clans. Under the halo of this Iron Azura, they undoubtedly served as the supporting cast to his brilliance. However, at this very moment, Lin Dong wished to do what the Azura had previously accomplished. Did he really believe that with his strength, he could truly contend with that individual? The gazes of Gu Shou and the other Gu clan members continuously flickered. They already had nothing left to say after Lin Dong's performance during his fight with Su Yang, and had discarded all of their doubts towards Lin Dong. However, what Lin Dong would face now was something that their Gu clan had never challenged before. I've said it before, I want the quota for the chaotic tower. Lin Dong looked at the completely silent crowd. With a grin, he said, since we're already facing a definite loss, what not let me give it a try? Meeting Lin Dong's gaze, Gu Shou clearly hesitated for a while, before replying, it's very dangerous. The slightest carelessness on your part can possibly result in your death. I've experienced far worse life-threatening situations. The one before me now has not yet reached the level where I'm forced to retreat. Lin Dong looked straight at Gu Shou. The smile on that youthful face had suddenly become sharp and pressuring, like an unsheathed sword, and gave off a chilling aura. Within the unique Devil region, even though the three great sect masters of the Yuan Gate had came out, they were still unable to kill him. Those were three Samsara stage super experts. They could cause the heavens to rend, and the earth to shake no matter where they were. Yet, even they had not managed to kill Lin Dong. What were Wei Yizhen and the other two in comparison? Lin Dong's sudden fierceness restricted the auras of all the Gu clan members for an instant. With her beautiful eyes, Gu Mengqi looked at the youth, who stood as tall and straight as a pine tree. His eyes contained a confidence in himself that seemed indestructible. This caused her red lips to open slightly, as an extraordinary splendor flashed past those peach blossom-like pupils. A fearless man would always have an inner charm. Although Lin Dong's appearance might not be as outstanding as Gu Yunqian's, Gu Yunqian currently appeared exceptionally dim beside him. Elder Gu Shou, it is already checkmate for us. If we don't take this unconventional move, our clan will definitely be eliminated. Since this is the case, why not let Lin Dong have a go? After all, the current situation is already the worst result, isn't it? Gu Mengqi said in a gentle voice. Gu Shou looked at Lin Dong with a somewhat complicated gaze. This youth had strength, courage and boldness. If he was a Gu clan disciple, he would likely not be inferior to that person from the Shinto clan. Since you've already decided on this, it'll not be good for me to refuse. However, if you're really unable to contend with them, just give up early and concede. This will prevent any evil schemes. Those little kids of the Wei clan don't go light on their attacks. Gu Shou replied with a sigh. Many thanks. Lin Dong smiled, cupping his hands towards Gu Shou, before turning around, and shooting towards the square below. His directness and unhindered mannerism made people sigh in admiration. This youth is indeed somewhat incredible. Gu Shou gazed at the Lin Dong's back, and said with some regret. I cannot compare to him. Gu Yunqian said, while slowly nodding his head. Even a person as arrogant as himself had no choice but to admit that when compared to Lin Dong, he was inferior in every aspect. How great would it be if such a youth was a member of our Gu clan? Gu Shou pursed his lips, before looking at Gu Mengqi, whose beautiful eyes were focused on Lin Dong's back. Smiling strangely, he said, what's wrong? Has our clan's big miss, with her high expectations, finally take fancy on someone? Hearing this, Gu Mengqi's fair and beautiful face turned faintly crimson. However, she strangely did not display any embarrassment. Instead, she pursed her lips and gently nodded her head. These actions caused the surrounding Gu clan members who understood her to feel slightly dumbfounded. Thud. Lin Dong's feet landed on the spacious square, before turning his sights towards the direction of the Wei clan. There, Wei Yizhen and Chen Luo had their arms crossed across their chests, while staring somewhat contemptuously at him, as if they were looking at a cornered monkey that was stubbornly resisting. You still haven't lost heart. Wei Yizhen looked at Lin Dong, as he mocked. However, Lin Dong did not pay heed to this mockery, while his calm eyes continued to stare. These actions caused Wei Yizhen to wrinkle his forehead. He proceeded to shoot a look at Wei Li. The latter immediately shot forward and landed on the square. I know you're formidable. There's no need to fight in this match. Consider it your win. Wei Li said, while laughing strangely. He had immediately chosen to concede, as he was very clear that if Chen Luo finished off the Gu clan's Gu Yang, their Wei clan would be considered the victors. As he said these words, Wei Li proceeded to turn around and leave. However, just as he did so, Lin Dong's calm voice slowly rang out, "Let the other two come down too." Huh? Wei Li's footsteps halted, as he turned around and stared at Lin Dong vacantly. The noise within the entire mountain gradually strangely quietened down at this moment. Subsequently, gazes swept over one after another, before finally resting on the figure of the thin youth. The smiles on the faces of the two men who had their arms crossed in front of their chests slowly froze, as gloominess started to gush out from their eyes. "What did you say?" Wei Zhen asked with a cold smile. "I said, I want the two of you to get down here." Lin Dong raised his head and looked at Wei Zhen, as a stern and fierce look flashed past his face. Whoosh! An uproar rippled out in waves. Countless whispers erupted at this instant. Azura method. He wants to challenge the Azura method. A roar that was filled with shock suddenly rang out, before the noises that seemingly blotted the skies abruptly increased in volume. Figures that filled the mountain and covered the plains, all suddenly stood up, before casting their fiery gazes over. "Good brat, you truly have balls. He actually dares to challenge the Azura method. Ha ha, it's either win or die. All these years, hasn't the Azura method only been successfully completed by the Shinto clan's Shinto Ju? I wonder how well this brat will fare." Hearing the uproar that covered the mountains and filled the plains, Wei Zhen's and Chen Luo's eyes turned increasingly gloomy, before a sinister grin started to slowly climb from the corner of their mouths. "Since you're looking to die, I'll grant your wish." Their figures practically shot forward at the same time. Like two grim reapers, they carried killing auras that pervaded their entire bodies, and landed with a bang on the square. At this very moment, the atmosphere instantly exploded. On the summit of the giant mountain, the vegetation was verdant and thick. A small gravel road extended through and out of the forest, connecting to a green square. At the end of the square was a limestone tower that was almost 100 feet tall, and had approximately 9 levels. On the surface of the stone tower, strange patterns were faintly discernible. These patterns appeared to be naturally formed. A boundless and simple atmosphere quietly radiated out, causing the surrounding area to feel steady and overgrown with weeds. A figure was quietly seated in front of this giant limestone tower like a monk. This person was clothed in a grey robe, and his head was incomparably smooth and shiny. Under the illumination of the sun, his head sparkled with a dazzling brilliance, while his face appeared exceedingly delicate and handsome. There were no energy fluctuations around his body. From afar, he seemed to be a normal person. However, only those with astonishing perceptive abilities would be able to sense furiously surging yuan power hidden within this quietness. In addition, only those who were familiar with his capabilities would know the fury of the iron Azura that was hidden under that delicate and handsome face. Oh! This silent and quiet atmosphere continued for quite some time, before the tightly shut eyes of the man suddenly sprung open. In this instant, extremely boundless yuan power erupted from his body. However, it was quickly forcefully compressed back into his body with a wave of his sleeve. A sliver of astonishment flashed past the delicate and handsome face of his, as he looked towards the waist of the mountain. The racket there seemed to have suddenly turned feverish, causing even the air itself to have an additional trace of fieriness. Swoosh! While the astonishment had yet to fade from his eyes, whooshing sounds suddenly rang out in the distance. A figure rapidly shot over, before finally descending on the square. The person who had arrived was a young disciple of the Shinto clan. Reverence filled his eyes, as he looked towards the man that was seated before the stone tower, before he respectfully said, "Big brother Shinto, Elder has sent me to inform you that an unforeseen incident has occurred in this martial gathering." There was only one person who could have obtained such heartfelt reverence from the rest of the Shinto clan disciples at such an age. Obviously, the man seated before the stone tower should be the one who possessed extreme fame and reputation in the Heaven Wind Sea region. Moreover, he was also the ranked third within the younger generation, Shinto clan's Iron Azura, Shinto Ju. Anyone would find it hard to believe, that the man who possessed a title that caused people's hearts and souls to tremble would actually look so delicate and handsome. Oh, which of the 4 clans has won? Upon hearing this, there was not much change in his expression, as he casually asked. From the current situation, the winner should be the Wei clan. However, the GU clan has invited an external helper who is considerably powerful. Now, that external helper is challenging the Asura method. If he were to succeed, the GU clan will be able to reverse their disadvantage and gain the qualifications to challenge you. The Shinto disciple replied respectfully. Someone has challenged the Asura method? Shinto Ju's calm and deep face finally fluctuated, as he looked at the disciple who had come with some astonishment in his eyes. Ha ha, this is indeed interesting, Shinto Ju faintly smiled. However, his expression did not turn too serious. With his current strength, let alone the younger generation of the Heaven Wind Sea region, even if he were to meet the older generation experts, he would face them without any fear. As for the competition between the younger generation of the 4 clans, it did not even enter his eyes. Within the younger generation of entire Heaven Wind Sea region, there were only 2 people who had earned his respect. Go back and inform the elders that I'll defend the chaotic tower. The desolation chi here is extremely beneficial to my Asura body cultivation. If I can enter the tower again, I will not fear those 2 fellows even if I meet them again. Shinto Ju said with a soft voice. Yes. The Shinto disciple hastily replied respectfully, before swiftly withdrawing. While he was withdrawing, his lowered eyes were filled with some shock and excitement. He naturally knew who the 2 people mentioned by Shinto Ju were. Among the younger generation in the Heaven Wind Sea region, the ones who could cause Shinto Ju to be so wary could only be that 2 absolutely astonishing geniuses from the 2 great caves. Shinto Ju watched the figure depart, before smiling faintly as he muttered, challenging the Asura method. This is indeed interesting. If that person is able to reach this place, he'll indeed have the qualifications to cross hands with me. However, this chaotic tower will still have to be occupied by my clan for another year. Bang! 2 abnormally boundless yuan power suddenly swept out on the square like a mountain flash flood. Within the boundless yuan power eruption, a dense killing intent circulated. Lin Dong looked at Wei Zhen and Chen Luo, who towered in front of him like a pair of demonic fiends. A smile started to appear on his face, as burning fighting desire erupted from the depths of his pitch-black eyes. I originally planned to let you live till the end of the martial gathering. However, since you're so urgently seeking death, the 2 of us can only grant you your wish. Wei Zhen's expression darkened, as he gazed at Lin Dong and sinisterly said. The corners of Chen Luo's mouth turned downwards, as his gaze turned sinister and cold. However, he did not speak. With a clench of his fist, a long black spear appeared in a flash. Ear-piercing ghostly screeches rang out as it appeared, while yin qi radiated out in waves. From its appearance, one could obviously tell that it was a formidable upper heavenly grade spirit treasure. Compared to Wei Zhen and Chen Luo, Wei Li was much more ordinary. However, the imposing aura of a person at the peak of the initial profound life stage was still not weak. In an instant, 3 swift and fierce auras howled out, and locked onto Lin Dong. I wonder how many rounds can you endure under our combined attacks? Wei Zhen said mockingly, while he slowly gripping the hilt of the giant black blade behind his back. There's no need to waste any time. Let us settle this in one move. However, in response to his mockery, Lin Dong pondered for a short while, before earnestly replying. Wei Zhen's and Chen Luo's eyes faintly narrowed, before replying in a cold voice, shameless boasting. I truly do not understand exactly where you get such confidence from. Lin Dong smiled faintly, as a chillingly cold aura started to erupt from the depths of his eyes. His hands suddenly clapped together to form a seal, as a chilling voice akin to an edge of a blade resounded across the square. I said, one move is enough. As the last of Lin Dong's words rang out, his palm suddenly patted down furiously, heavily landing on the ground. In the next instant, a low and deep voice rang in his heart. Great desolation scripture. Boom. The earth suddenly shook intensely for an instant. Immediately, everyone was able to feel an extremely peculiar fluctuation suddenly erupt in a ring-like fashion with Lindong as its center. This eruption wasn't on the surface, but underground. Countless people looked in astonishment at the trembling earth. In addition, they could feel the energy pulse under the earth. Subsequently, the astonishment within their eyes gradually transformed into thick shock. Because they had seen that the lush and verdant earth beneath their feet was actually starting to turn desolated at an astonishing speed. The lush and verdant mountain rapidly turned yellow and withered, as a desolate aura started to spread. Rustle. Around the square, the expressions of those elders of the 4 great clans, whose strength were tyrannical, changed drastically, as they stood up in a flash. They were able to sense that the life force and energy of the area was being completely extracted. In addition, the life force and energy was actually converging to where Lindong stood. Obviously, the life force and energy was being forcibly extracted and absorbed by Lindong. Such a tyrannical martial art. At this instant, Ji Shou's old face turned completely solemn and grave. His gaze was locked tightly on the thin figure within the arena as he muttered, "The tyranny of this martial art is something even the moon-embracing art of our clan is unable to compare to." From the looks of it, Lindong's origins isn't simple. Ji Yang's pretty face was similarly filled with shock and astonishment. Even she had never seen this move of Lindong's. Evidently, he had yet to reveal many of his trump cards. Lindong wants to use this move to defeat the Weizhen trio. Ji Mengqi's beautiful eyes sparkled with extraordinary splendor, as she asked in a soft voice. Although this martial art is able to absorb the power of the surrounding earth, it will still be difficult to completely defeat the combined might of the 3 of them. Ji Shou muttered. Bang bang. However, just as Ji Shou's words appeared, loud rumbling noises suddenly rang out within the square. An energy light pillar that was at least 1,000 feet large immediately enveloped Lindong, and rushed in the sky. The abundance of this energy caused people to be incessantly shocked. That figure slowly stood up within the energy light pillar. A gigantic fissure extended under his feet, before finally extending out of one sight. Countless gazes locked onto the figure within the light pillar. In the next instant, those with shrewd eyes were able to see the figure within forming hand seals again. Following the sequence of the hand seals, the seemingly corporeal energy light pillar suddenly erupted with frightening fluctuations that caused one to feel horror in one's hearts. As those frightening fluctuations rippled outwards, there also seemed to be a low mumbling voice akin to a god that was faintly discernible. Martial Emperor's fury split the heavens. While Lindong was displaying the Great Desolation scripture and absorbing the life force of this stretch of earth, the grey-clothed man who was training with his eyes closed in the front of the stone tower at the mountain peak suddenly jolted slightly. His tightly shut eyes sprung open in a flash as he looked towards his front. The originally lush and verdant trees there had started to strangely wither at this moment. This is. Looking at this spectacle, his forehead started to wrinkle. Subsequently, he extended a slender hand and gently touched the earth. He could feel waves of energy gushing out from within the earth, before converging towards a certain direction. That direction was the location of the martial gathering at the waist of the mountain. Such a tyrannical martial art, this person truly has some ability. The grey-clothed man muttered to himself. It was obviously impossible for the Wei clan to possess such a martial art. Since that was the case, it should belong to the fellow that was challenging the Azura method. With these thoughts, some sparks started to fly within the depths of the grey-clothed man's eyes, as an arc started to rise from the corners of his mouth. This person is indeed interesting, he has the qualifications to be my opponent. This video will end here.